I don't like it when there's snakes who walk the earth as men do. Warren Super PAC won't disclose donors early despite candidates' request. Hey guys, remember when Warren campaigned on not accepting money from super PACs? Do you remember those days? Can we close your eyes and envision the better times when it seemed like there were two decent progressive candidates for presidency? Oh, I mean, we always had our preference for Bernie Sanders because we know Bernie Sanders is based as fuck. Maybe Elizabeth Warren's, pretty cool, but she's no Bernie Sanders. And then, the cracks begin to show. And Elizabeth Warren is now accepting money from super PACs. But this is actually much more insidious than you think it is, folks. This is so much more insidious than you think it is. I propose to you that not only is Elizabeth Warren a dishonest, hypocritical piece of shit, she's also not a progressive. Allow me to elucidate. Right now, Elizabeth Warren has no path to the White House. We can take a look. RCP betting Democratic primaries. So if we take a look over here at the Brown Warren line, very much like the shit that shares the color of this line, she just plummets, she just sinks to the floor. Oh man, going from a commanding 53.4, projected percent chance of winning, all the way down to down here, where she is currently below, I shit you not, Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, who is currently not in the race. Hillary Clinton is currently polling above Warren. I shit you not. So Warren, let's be real here. Warren is not going to make it into the White House. But in spite of that, the super PAC that Warren is now accepting money from has spent $12 million advertising for her. Now, how is that advertising money being distributed? It's going towards pro-Warren television ads in Super Tuesday states. So let's think long and hard about this. Warren has no path to the White House. However, the big question here, the big question these days is, what happens? Does Bernie Sanders win with a majority or a plurality of assigned delegates in the first ballot, in which case he becomes the Democratic primary presidential candidate? Or do we have a brokered convention? Let's talk about this super quick. Hypers, if you have no idea what brokered convention means. Throw up a hypers. I'm genuinely curious. I'm not trying to patronize or anything. It's totally fine. The primary process is and always has been extremely archaic and asinine and stupid. So, essentially what a brokered convention means is that no primary presidential candidate for the Democratic Party or the Republicans, but we're dealing with the Democrats now, show up at Milwaukee, once all the states have been counted, with 50% or more of the delegates. Like maybe you've got this person, I think at majority, not plurality. Oh, more than 50%. I forget what, I mix up majority and plurality. It's more than 50%. If nobody shows up with 50% or more of the assigned delegates after all of the states have distributed their delegates, you have a brokered convention. So imagine you go and it's like Bernie has 44%, and Biden has 27%, and Klobuchar has 6%, and Buttigieg has 11%, and Bloomberg has 12%, but nobody has 50 or more. And what happens in a brokered convention is then all of the pledged delegates, the delegates who've, the voters have said, I want you to go to Biden, I want you to go to Bernie, they get to do whatever the fuck they want. And moreover, super delegates of the Democratic Party has, what is it, 600? DNC super delegate count, I think it's 600, right? 437, my apologies. The super delegates get to jump in. Okay, so imagine this. I'm going to draw this for you super quickly because I really want you to understand the stakes that we have arrived at, so I can describe to you how fucked up what Elizabeth Warren is doing. Okay, so let's say we have. That's the 50% threshold that you need to avoid a brokered convention. Okay, sound good? Sound good? We good? All right. Now let's say that Bernie makes it with 52% of the total votes. We're good. We're done. That's it. No brokered convention. If after everything, after Super Tuesday, after all the votes are counted, everything, we get 52%, that's done. Bernie Sanders becomes the Democratic presidential candidate. There's nothing anyone can do about it. There's no fuckery that can be done. There's no secret fucking, Kekai Genshin, like Hillary Clinton bloodline technique where she emerges at Milwaukee to do battle to the death with him on top of the stage. It doesn't happen. He wins. However, let's say he gets 48%, He gets 48%, and then fucking Bloomberg gets 20. These are arbitrary numbers. Buttigieg gets that much, and I don't know, Biden gets that much, and nobody else is even relevant enough to take a look at. Okay? Well, in this case, we have to remember who these where these votes are coming from. These votes are pledged delegates that are assigned to a candidate after the votes are tallied from the states that the pledged delegates come from. However, if nobody reaches that 50% threshold, pledged delegates now have the option to reshuffle their who they're casting their vote behind. Now, realistically speaking, if we have a brokered convention and all of the pledged delegates for Bernie all jump to Bloomberg, thus putting him above the threshold, that would be the end of the Democratic Party. There is, generally speaking, an expectation that even in a brokered convention, pledged delegates will, for the most part, not interfere with the will of the people. But that's not a law, They can if they want to. They're totally allowed to. It might fuck up the Democratic Party for a bit and make some people really angry, but hey, anything to stop, a real progressive candidate from entering the stage. No. In reality, what the pledged delegates usually do is that the people who pledge their votes to the lesser candidates will pile onto the one of the two front runners. So in essence, in a brokered convention, the pledged delegates for the smaller candidates over here end up playing kingmaker to the people who come in first or second. Because, these people aren't going to win no matter what. So now the pledged delegates here have to decide, well, somebody has to end up with more than 50% of the votes. Who are we going to go to? This isn't counting the superdelegates. Superdelegates, who I'll be drawing here in blue, are about, 437? 437 votes that are completely untied, just completely untied to any voting process whatsoever. This is literally just the DNC saying, democracy, what if we just picked you president? What if we just chose for you? Funnily enough, the Democratic Party, the DNC, has 4 times as many superdelegates as the Republican Party. The Republican Party is actually significantly more Democratic than the Democratic Party. I'm not joking. Whatever the case is, this is 437 votes that they can just plop anywhere. Literally, just if they want to choose Bernie, then that plop, plop, plop. Remember, this is only in a brokered convention. If they want to choose somebody else, plop. Now it should be kept in mind that the superdelegates are, the technical term is fucking batshit loony. There was recently a discussion among superdelegates, I don't have the article in front of me right now, where they were considering candidates to assign their votes to in the possibility of a brokered convention, and they brought up people such as, I shit you not, Michelle Obama. That's a real thing that a superdelegate said. That if it came down to a brokered convention, where might I place my vote? Well, I liked the Obama years. What if I gave it to Michelle Obama? Someone who's not in the race. That's not a joke. That's not, do you think that's a joke? Wait, can somebody give the... Yeah, here we go. Democratic leaders willing to risk party damage to stop Bernie Sanders. Interviews with dozens of Democratic Party officials, including 93 superdelegates, found overwhelming opposition to handing Mr. Sanders the nomination if he fell short a majority of delegates. This is the reason why Sanders fans are so scared of a brokered convention, because a brokered convention hands the power to choose the presidential candidate to the DNC, and the DNC fucking hates Bernie Sanders. William Owen, a DNC member from Tennessee, suggested that if Mr. Obama was unwilling, because he's already been president 2 times, his wife, Michelle, could be nominated as, as vice president. I'm sorry. Yeah, Obama bringing it back as vice president. People close to Obama says he has no intention of getting involved in the primary process. You can read over this article. These superdelegates are fucking insane. They have absolutely no idea what the American people are interested in. Was there not a list that was provided for some of the people that they were interested in? I didn't recognize like any of the names that were on the list. Oh yeah, here we go. Let's go. Chris Coons, Nancy Pelosi. Oh, there were people who were seriously considering Nancy Pelosi. These people, the superdelegates, are fucking lunatics. But lunatics as they may be, they are united in at least one thing, which is their opposition to Bernie Sanders being the president of the United States of America. So let's get back to Elizabeth Warren. So as we have seen, as has been demonstrated, the superdelegates, along with the unpledged delegates from the first convention, both make it highly unlikely that Bernie Sanders would win a brokered convention. Because even if Bernie Sanders comes out the clear frontrunner, shenanigans will take place, and a fuck ton of votes are going to go down to the second runner. Now, this is within a margin. If Bernie Sanders comes out 20 points ahead of the next runner-up, I don't think they're going to be able to fuck with that. If it's very, very clear that the voting population has chosen Bernie Sanders and he just barely meets the threshold, I don't think the DNC is going to take that from him. But if it's close, if it's a close race, they will not give it to him, even if he comes out with the most votes in the first ballot. And that brings us back, rounding it all the way back, to Elizabeth Warren. If Elizabeth Warren does not have a path to the presidency at this time, if Elizabeth Warren is currently spending $12 million trying to get votes in Super Tuesday states, who do you think those votes are going to be pulled from? Who do you think, which voting constituency do you think is most likely to be pulled away from their current favorite towards Elizabeth Warren after being bombarded with $12 million in advertisements? They said it plain and clear at the debates in Las Vegas, folks. Every single candidate on that stage was okay with the DNC process of superdelegates and unpledged delegates playing kingmaker to decide who becomes the presidential candidate, even if they do not end up agreeing with the voters, except for Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was the only one who said, shocking idea, I know, that the person who gets the most votes should be the primary presidential candidate. You know? I know, it's crazy. Democracy, right? Here's what Warren is trying to do. Warren understands that her only chance at winning is being appointed a victory by the kingmakers in the DNC, and she is trying to force a brokered convention by perpetuating her dying presidential campaign to the detriment of Bernie Sanders. Elizabeth Warren never gave a single shit about promoting progressive values. She virtue signals for them. What would you do, Elizabeth Warren, for the trans youth in this country? I would cry over every name inscribed in a plaque in my garden of every trans youth. You know, she really plays it up, but turned around on Medicare for All, turned around on super PACs, cynically weaponized identity politics to attack Sanders on claims of sexism, repeatedly attacked Sanders, even when people were congratulating her for her performance against Bloomberg after the Las Vegas debates, cynically bought into the Bernie bro narrative, attacking him for his mean, nasty supporters, ignoring policy discussions to tear down the frontrunner. If Elizabeth Warren actually cared about putting progressive values in the White House, she would have recognized that she should drop out, endorse Bernie Sanders, and do everything in her power to bolster his chances. Everything in her power. But she doesn't care about getting a progressive in the White House, and she realizes that she's not going to be the one in the White House either, so she's tearing down the frontrunner. It's that simple. Elizabeth Warren is not a progressive. Elizabeth Warren has never been a progressive, because any real progressive would understand that at this point, this is the closest the United States of America has gotten to getting a real progressive candidate in the Oval Office, and she is impeding that process by going back on her word, by using super PAC money to deliberately drag Sanders down in the hope of a brokered convention that he can't win. She is a huge piece of shit. I am genuinely disgusted by Elizabeth Warren. I think at this point, just as a matter of principle, I think I would actually support Biden over her, because Biden is a doddering fucking idiot. Whose brain is currently melting. But Elizabeth Warren, I think, might just be a stupider and less cruel version of Hillary Clinton, where everything she's ever pledged, everything that she's ever supported, has been a cynical bait at public support, when in reality, it's just a cheap political ploy to her. I just can't reconcile a progressive presidential candidate's political agenda with her clear and determined efforts to prevent a progressive from getting into the White House. She hired Hillary campaign staffers, and hey, Warren stands act a lot like Hillary stands too. Very little focus on policy, a lot of interest in having labial flaps smeared against the the velvety cushion of the of the Oval Office seat, Very interested in having a woman in the presidency. It doesn't matter what she believes in, really. As long as it's a woman, that's all that matters. The fan bases act essentially identically. I have never seen a Warren supporter on Twitter go on an impassioned speech about policy. I have never seen that in my life. I have never seen that. It's always whining and complaining that it's her turn. It's her turn, folks, I hate Elizabeth Warren. I really genuinely do. And I have no idea the extent to which her policies are a legitimate reflection of her progressive values, and how much of it is just a cynical attempt to gobble up, a particular demographic of the voter constituency. What's that demographic? The Harry Potter liberals. You know the type, right? The Harry Potter liberals. Notice how many Warren supporters have Club as a second choice. I actually wonder, hold on. Warren second choice. Wasn't there recently a poll? Voters second choice candidates. Can we get a breakdown on that? Oh, Klobuchar isn't even listed on this poll. No, Sanders is still the number one second choice for Warren, and Warren is still the number one second choice for Sanders, which is one of the reasons why what she's doing is so dangerous. She's pulling votes away from Sanders supporters, from indifferent progressive liberals who like the idea of having a woman in the White House, but also like the idea of having a democratic socialist in the White House, and they can't quite decide. Warren is a legitimate threat to the Bernie Sanders presidency in a way and to a degree that is unmatched by people like Buttigieg and Bloomberg, because they have coalesced broadly around the idea that there should be a, some sort of centrist, moderate opposition to the increasing populist left that has taken hold of the Democratic Party, the increasing size, the weight, the force, the girth. But Warren has done something entirely different. Warren has sold herself now essentially on handicapping Bernie Sanders. That is now, her imperative. And everything that she's done reinforces that, growing increasingly moderate, as the campaign process has gone on, the campaign staffers that she's hired, the attacks she's made against Bernie and his supporters. It's just cynical. So I say, and I'm very brave for saying this, and I do think I deserve a little bit of applause. Fuck Elizabeth Warren, and also fuck women, honestly. I'm a Bernie bro, ride or die, I was right once. I hated Hillary Clinton because she was a woman, not for any other reason. And now, I hate Elizabeth Warren just because she's a woman, not for any other reason, There's no broader sort of political consideration that's gone into my preferences here. It's just sexism. And I only like Bernie Sanders because I know he is the largest dick of any of the the candidates up there. I am very confident in that fact. It is in fact the only reason that he has not released the entirety of his medical records is because all that remains is the extent, the almost embarrassing extent to which he has had to surgically reduce the size of his penis. Which he cut down on the length but not the girth, and that is now like one of those big like the extra size spam cans, like the kind that you could get at a big box store. Very impressive stuff. Probably stuff he wants to keep personal. I only know because I'm a personal friend. Whatever the case may be, fuck Elizabeth Warren. Fuck that stupid, hypocritical, anti-progressive piece of shit. The only path forward for progressivism in America is her dropping out and endorsing Bernie, but her ego won't let her do it. I think personally she made a pact with the devil. I think that she's running right now to be like a chief of staff or vice presidential, a nominee for somebody like Biden or Buttigieg. I genuinely believe that. I think right now at this point that's her best shot, and she's going to trade that little bit of clout, for the future of the United States of America. Very bad deal, folks. Yeah, she's going to be Trump's VP 2020. That's true. The Chapo guys have said that she's the black-pilled candidate. That she's the Joker candidate. She just wants to see it all burn now. I'm not entirely sure if I disagree. That's pretty funny. It is pretty funny,